Think rich, live rich, become rich. There is a moment in every human life that divides existence into two worlds. The world before awakening, and the world after most people never notice when that moment arrives. It comes quietly. It does not knock. It does not announce itself with thunder. It hides in ordinary days, inside ordinary thoughts, buried beneath routines, fears, and excuses. But once you see it, once you feel it, once you understand it, you can never return to who you were. Because in that moment, you realize something that terrifies the average mind and liberates the extraordinary one. You realize that poverty is not born in the wallet. It is born in the mind. And wealth, true wealth, begins there too. Not in numbers, not in bank accounts, not in possession, but in the invisible architecture of belief, in the silent decisions you make when no one is watching, in the standards you accept, in the vision you dare to hold when the world gives you no evidence. This is where empires are born. Long before steel becomes skyscrapers, it exists as thought. Long before fortunes become reality, they exist as belief. Long before the world calls someone successful, they have already declared it within themselves. The truth is, every fortune you have ever seen was created twice. First in the mind, then in the world. This is not philosophy. This is law. Napoleon Hill once spent decades studying the most powerful individuals alive, and he discovered something the average person never understands. Wealthy people do not think like poor people. They do not see the world the same way. They do not interpret failure the same way. They do not speak to themselves the same way in moments of uncertainty. Where the average mind sees obstacles, they see direction. Where the average mind sees rejection, they see refinement. Where the average mind sees impossibility, they see unfinished construction. Because they understand something most people never learn. Your mind is not a mirror of reality. It is the creator of it. Every thought you allow to live inside your mind is either building your future or destroying it. Every doubt is a vote for weakness. Every belief is a vote for power. And every day, without realizing it, you are casting those votes. You see, the world has conditioned you to think small. It trained you to seek safety instead of greatness. It rewarded conformity and punished vision. It taught you to trust evidence instead of imagination. It convinced you that you must see it before you believe it. But every great creator in history lived by the opposite rule. They believed it before they saw it. When Henry Ford envisioned the automobile changing the world, people laughed at him. They told him it was impossible. They told him it was unrealistic. They told him he was chasing fantasy. But Ford was not responding to the world as it was. He was responding to the world as it would be. And that is the difference between those who live ordinary lives and those who shape history. Ordinary people adjust themselves to reality. Extraordinary people adjust reality to themselves. This is the moment where everything changes. The moment you stop asking what is possible and start deciding what is inevitable. Because wealth is not an accident. It is not luck. It is not chance. It is the natural result of a mind that refuses to accept limitation. A mind that refuses to negotiate with fear. A mind that refuses to shrink itself to fit into the comfort zones of others. A rich mind does not wait for permission. It does not wait for certainty. It does not wait for approval. It moves even when afraid, especially when afraid, because fear is not the signal to stop. It is the signal that you are approaching the edge of your old identity. And on the other side of that edge is the person you were meant to become. Most people spend their entire lives protecting a smaller version of themselves. They protect their limitations. They protect their doubts. They protect their excuses. They build walls around their potential and then wonder why their lives never expand. But you were not created to live inside walls. You were created to build horizons, to expand beyond every version of yourself that ever existed before. To evolve beyond every belief that ever held you captive, to become someone so aligned with vision, so aligned with purpose, so aligned with certainty, that the world has no choice but to respond. Because the world does not respond to your wishes. It responds to your identity. And identity is not something you are given. It is something you claim. The moment you decide to think rich, you begin to see differently. You begin to interpret failure differently. Failure is no longer evidence of weakness. It becomes evidence of movement, evidence of growth, evidence that you are no longer standing still while life passes you by. And standing still is the most dangerous place a human being can exist, because nothing grows there, nothing evolves there, nothing transforms there. Movement is life. Decision is power. Belief is creation. And once you understand this, once you truly accept it, you realize that the life you are living right now is not your final form. It is only your current reflection, and reflections can change. Because the person you see in the mirror today is not permanent. It is only the result of past thoughts, past decisions, past standards you were willing to accept. Nothing more. Nothing less. Most people look at their current circumstances and believe they are trapped. They believe their environment defines them. They believe their past has sentenced them. They believe their limitations are permanent structures instead of temporary shadows. But circumstance is not identity. Circumstance is only the echo of old thinking, and echoes fade when the source changes. The moment you change the source, the moment you change the internal voice that speaks inside you when no one else can hear, the moment you raise your standards beyond what is comfortable, your external world begins to reorganize itself around that new identity. This is where the transformation begins. Not when you earn your first million, not when the world recognizes you, not when applause arrives, but in the silent moment when you decide that who you have been is no longer acceptable to who you are becoming. Because wealth does not begin in the bank. It begins in the standard. Poor standards create poor lives. Average standards create average lives. Elite standards create elite lives. And standards are invisible. No one can see them. No one can touch them. But they control everything. They control how you speak. They control how you act. They control how you respond to pain, to pressure, to uncertainty. When your standards rise, your behavior rises automatically. You no longer tolerate distractions that weaken you. You no longer tolerate habits that poison your future. You no longer tolerate thoughts that shrink your vision. You begin to protect your mind the way kings protect their kingdoms. Because your mind is a kingdom, and every thought is either an ally or an enemy. There is no neutral. The average person allows enemies to live freely inside their mind. Doubt walks in without resistance. Fear speaks without interruption. Excuses sit comfortably like honored guests. But the wealthy mind is different. It stands guard. It questions every destructive thought. It rejects every belief that does not serve its highest future. It replaces weakness with certainty. It replaces hesitation with decision. It replaces fear with purpose. This is not arrogance. This is discipline. Because discipline is the bridge between vision and reality. Without discipline, vision is fantasy. With discipline, vision becomes destiny. Consider the life of Thomas Edison. He did not invent the light bulb in a moment of sudden luck. He built it through thousands of failures, thousands of attempts where the world could have told him to stop, thousands of opportunities to surrender to doubt. But Edison did not see failure the way ordinary people do. He saw information. He saw progress. He saw refinement. Every failed attempt eliminated what did not work, bringing him closer to what would. And that is the mindset of wealth. The poor mind asks, what if I fail? The rich mind asks, what will I learn? The poor mind seeks comfort. The rich mind seeks growth. The poor mind avoids pain. The rich mind understands that pain is the price of transformation, because nothing valuable is born in comfort. Comfort is the birthplace of mediocrity. Pressure is the birthplace of greatness. A diamond is not created in calm conditions. It is created under immense pressure over time. And so are you. Every challenge you face is not there to destroy you. It is there to shape you, to refine you, to harden your resolve, to force you to evolve beyond your current limitations. But evolution requires decision, and decision requires courage. Because the moment you decide to think rich, you separate yourself from the majority. You begin to see opportunities where others see risk. You begin to act while others hesitate. You begin to move while others remain frozen in analysis and fear. And movement creates momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in existence. On say, you begin moving forward with certainty. The path begins to reveal itself, not all at once, but step by step. Clarity is not something you find before action. Clarity is something you discover through action. The average person waits for clarity before they move. The wealthy mind moves and clarity follows. Because action creates evidence. Evidence strengthens belief. Belief strengthens identity. And identity shapes destiny. This is the cycle that creates wealth. Not luck, not chance, not coincidence, but internal alignment with a vision so strong that it reshapes your behavior automatically. You stop negotiating with your lower self. You stop listening to the voice that tells you to wait. You stop asking for permission from a world that does not understand your vision. Because vision is always lonely in the beginning. When Walt Disney first imagined building an empire of imagination, he was rejected repeatedly. Banks refused him. Critics dismissed him. People told him his dreams were unrealistic. But Disney was not building based on their belief. He was building based on his own. And belief is contagious, not immediately, not easily, but inevitably, because the world eventually reflects the certainty you hold long enough. The person who refuses to quit eventually becomes the person who cannot be stopped, not because they are special, but because they are consistent. Consistency is power. Consistency transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. It compounds small actions into massive outcomes. It turns invisible progress into visible success. But consistency is only possible when belief is stronger than doubt, when vision is stronger than fear, when purpose is stronger than comfort. And purpose is not something you find outside. It is something you decide inside. It is the meaning you assign to your life. It is the reason you refuse to settle. It is the force that pulls you forward when everything inside you wants to stop. Purpose gives pain meaning. Purpose gives sacrifice value. Purpose gives struggle direction. Without purpose, discipline feels like punishment. With purpose, discipline feels like liberation. Because every sacrifice becomes an investment in the person you are becoming. And the person you are becoming is far more powerful than the person you have been. The person you are becoming is not limited by the evidence of your past. They are defined by the decisions you make now. Right now, in this moment, there is an invisible war taking place inside you. A war between the version of you that seeks comfort and the version of you that seeks greatness. One voice whispers, stay where it is safe, stay where it is predictable, stay where you are accepted. The other voice whispers something far more dangerous. It whispers, become. Become more than your fears. Become more than your excuses. Become more than the identity you inherited from circumstances you did not choose. Because the greatest prison in the world is not made of steel bars. It is made of accepted limitations. Limitations repeated so many times that they begin to feel like truth. But they were never truth. They were only suggestions, and suggestions only have power when they are accepted. The moment you reject them, they collapse. This is why belief is the foundation of all wealth. Not because belief magically creates money, but because belief creates behavior. And behavior creates results. And results create reality. Every action you take is born from what you believe is possible. If you believe success is distant, your actions will be weak. If you believe success is reserved for others, your effort will be inconsistent. If you believe wealth is unattainable, you will unconsciously sabotage every opportunity that appears. But when belief shifts, everything shifts. Suddenly your actions carry certainty. Your decisions carry conviction. Your presence carries authority, because you are no longer asking whether success is possible. You are acting as if it is inevitable. This is the mindset that built every empire. When Andrew Carnegie arrived as a poor immigrant with nothing, he did not possess wealth. He possessed belief. He possessed vision. He possessed an internal certainty that his external circumstances could not contradict. He did not wait for the world to validate him. He validated himself first, and the world followed. This is how reality works. It follows identity, not wishes, not hopes, identity. If you see yourself as small, your life will remain small. If you see yourself as powerless, your actions will remain powerless. If you see yourself as average, your results will remain average. But the moment you see yourself as capable of greatness, Your brain begins searching for ways to make that identity real, because your mind cannot tolerate contradiction between who you believe you are and how you live. It will force alignment. This is why thinking rich is not about fantasy. It is about identity construction. It is about deliberately building the internal version of yourself that matches the external life you intend to create. You begin to speak differently. You begin to carry yourself differently. You begin to make decisions differently. You stop choosing based on fear. You start choosing based on vision. Vision is the compass of wealth. Without vision, effort is scattered. Without vision, discipline collapses. Without vision, action becomes reaction instead of creation. Vision gives direction to your energy. It gives meaning to your sacrifice. It gives structure to your discipline. And discipline is what transforms vision into physical form. Because vision without discipline is hallucination, but vision with discipline becomes reality. This is where most people fail, not because they lack talent, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack sustained discipline. They act when they feel motivated. They stop when they feel resistance. They move when it is easy. They retreat when it is hard. But success is not created in moments of ease. It is created in moments of resistance. Resistance is the test. Resistance is the filter that separates those who wish from those who become. Every time you act despite resistance, you strengthen your identity. Every time you keep going despite doubt, you reinforce your belief. Every time you refuse to quit, you reshape your future. Because persistence is not just action. Persistence is identity. It is the declaration that your vision matters more than your comfort, that your future matters more than your fear, that your purpose matters more than your temporary pain. Consider Abraham Lincoln. Before he became one of the most respected leaders in history, he faced repeated failure, business failure, election defeat, personal loss, emotional suffering. By the standards of ordinary thinking, he had every reason to quit, every reason to accept defeat, every reason to believe he was not destined for greatness. But Lincoln did not measure his future by his present circumstances. He measured it by his internal conviction. And conviction is stronger than circumstance, because circumstances change. Conviction endures. Conviction carries you through uncertainty. Conviction carries you through rejection. Conviction carries you through the long periods where progress is invisible, because progress is often invisible before it becomes undeniable, just like a seed grows underground before it breaks through the surface, just like transformation happens internally before it becomes externally visible. This is why patience is power, not passive waiting, but active persistence, continuing to move forward without immediate reward, continuing to believe without immediate evidence, continuing to build without immediate recognition, because recognition is not the cause of greatness. It is the result of it. And greatness is built in silence, in early mornings when no one is watching, in late nights when no one is applauding, in moments of doubt when no one is encouraging you. These are the moments that define you. These are the moments where identity is forged. These are the moments where wealth begins to take shape inside you, long before it appears in your hand. Because first you think rich, then you live rich, and eventually you become rich.